Hello, welcome back to our podcast. I'm Tomoya.
Hi, I'm Andrea. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Today we are discussing about overused words and phrases in daily conversations.
Okay, I'm going to get into trouble in this conversation.
Me too, don't worry about it.
Okay, good.
So in theory,
Yeah.
the more words you know,
Yes.
the more expressive you can become.
That's generally true.
Yeah?
Although from watching the way, for example, fellow American people speak on TV, or for watching, like observing myself, we kind of tend to get into patterns. We don't always use all the words that we actually know, right?
Can you explain a little bit more?
Okay, I'm a literature major. I read a lot of books. I know a lot of words.
Yes.
But I don't use most of those words in conversation.
Yes.
I can be expressive when I want to, but in general, I just use standard phrases and pretty easy to understand English, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. If I need to be academic or I need to, be in a place where I need to use bigger words or more difficult words, I can, but I don't use those in daily conversation.
Yes, for daily conversation, we don't need much vocabulary.
No, that's true.
Me personally, I study and build up more vocabularies.
That's good. I try to remember more in Japanese too. Recently, I've learned of quite a few new words. So I learned them, but I forgot them immediately. So I'm still in the process of learning. I haven't remembered them yet.
You can understand what it means once you heard, right?
Usually, yeah. Sometimes it takes me 3-4 times to remember, but yeah, in general, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about commonly overused words.
Okay.
Like is the most common overused word.
Yes, and I am guilty. I use like a lot.
Me too. Don't worry. And is a popular one.
Yes, that's very popular.
And what else can you think of?
Like this. Is one. That's not really a word. That's just a sound. I think like is the most irritating. The one that irritates people the most.
Okay.
What else could there be? I'm sure there are a lot.
For example, literally.
Yeah, that's like really popular right now.
Actually.
Yeah, actually, okay. It's not so bad. But like with literally, it's kind of a trendy word right now. And it has been for a few years. And people use it when they're not being literal. They're using it incorrectly, but they still say literally.
I want to ask you about any English phrases overused by ESL learners.
By ESL learners, it kind of goes person to person. Each person kind of gets into their own habit. I'll give you one example.
Yes.
And I hope this person is listening, but also not listening. We have one person who comes here to our English cafe who often says, "Don't get me wrong." And it's fine. He doesn't use it incorrectly. The way he uses it is correct.
Yes.
But he uses it often.
Yes.
And it's kind of his thing to use that. It's very cute. Something like that. Like one person they get kind of hooked onto a phrase or,
Like one single
pattern. Like a word or a pattern, a phrase, and then they use that. It's not wrong. It's totally fine. I'm not trying to be, negative or anything.
Yes.
Another example, but in Japanese, when I was studying Japanese when I was a student, one of my classmates got onto the phrase, well, in English we say it's okay. It's fine, it's no problem, it's no problem. So he translated it's no problem directly into Japanese, and he started saying mondai nai. So someone would ask him something, and every time he would say, mondai nai. He should have been saying, 大丈夫です. But his phrase was 問題ない. So he became the 問題ない guy. He just said it constantly.
That's funny, but I can't really laugh about it because I kind of have a same or similar situation myself.
Oh, really? What do you say?
I tend to use I see often when I lived in Australia.
Okay, like in what sort of situations?
Like.
But so, this it means for example. So
yeah, for example.
Yeah, for example.
So I was working in a kitchen with coworkers, and my boss teach me how to do things.
Yes.
So whenever he teach me, how to, I said, I see.
Okay.
Every time, every single time, I said, okay. I see, So
that, like in Japanese, it'd be like, わかった,
わかりました,
わかった.
Yes. But my coworker joked about it, and by gesturing, I see with you 2 fingers.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. It literally said, it kind of showing, I just,
I'm watching you.
I'm watching you.
That's scary.
So it kind of indicated that I maybe used I see often.
Oh, okay. He was kind of teasing you.
Yes. So after that, I stopped using I see often.
Okay.
So instead
of... It's not incorrect, though.
Yeah, but I sometimes I said, I understand, or okay.
Yeah,
or
okay is good.
Something else.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have any phrases like that. Have you noticed anything that I say frequently?
Not that I think.
Okay, I know I say a lot. Especially when I'm talking to other native speakers. It's really bad. It's really, really bad.
Yeah. I use a lot, and also I use a lot. I should have said it was amazing.
Okay.
But I said it was, amazing.
Oh, I see.
And sometimes I said I should have said I was really excited. But I said I was really excited.
That sounds like a native speaker, though. That's how we talk.
But but it happened every single time.
No, that's how we talk. That's fine. You're one of us now. You're no longer Japanese.
I didn't like it. Whenever I check my podcast, I hear this often, and then, Tomoya, you speak. You stopped and pause middle of the sentence with using and so I didn't like this.
No, that's fine. I think that's natural. Another one I think I do is if someone says something and I want to show agreement, I'll say, oh, cool. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. I use cool too much. Oh, cool. It means like, いいね. いいね, いいね, いいね.
That's, I think, okay, though.
Yeah, but sometimes if I'm talking with native speakers, it can be a bit too much, especially with my sister.
Your sister.
Yeah, with my sister. For example, with my sister. And then I'll do, oh, cool. That kind of, oh, cool. Kind of crazy intonation, too.
My boss in Australia, he used cool often.
Okay, so like me, it's just a habit, probably.
Yes.
So was your boss Australian?
Australian.
Okay.
Yes. But my coworker at the time was from different countries.
Okay. Did they have any habits that you noticed? Did they use any overuse any phrases?
No.
They were okay?
They were okay.
Okay. Just you.
Just me. So we understand what word we overused often.
Yes.
But why it happened, can you explain?
Well, I haven't researched this, but I'm going to say habit is number one. Just habit.
Yes.
For native speakers especially, for me when I speak English, it's purely 100% habit. I don't hear myself saying it. I don't even think about it. But then, like you said, if I go back and listen to a recording of myself, I notice it. Or if I'm in a kind of a professional setting and I say, because it sounds very casual, right? To say like. Mm-hmm. If I'm in a professional setting or, like a formal work setting and I start saying like, I realize, oh, okay, that sounds really bad. I need to restate that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's habit.
Okay. Is that limited vocabulary one of the reasons?
It can be. It can be.
Yes.
So, for example, I mentioned like the daijoubu mondai nai, like no problem mondai nai translation. Yes. I think like that, my friend or my classmate didn't know daijoubu should be used in certain situations instead of mondai nai. So in that case, for him, it was limited vocabulary, a limited cultural awareness. Mm-hmm. So lack of awareness of when to say what phrases.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, I'd like to talk about some alternatives for overused word commonly used by Japanese people.
Okay.
That I personally think.
Okay.
So first one is really.
Yeah.
This is very, very commonly used English learners, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's because you mentioned like limited vocabulary. Mm-hmm. They might have heard other words, but really is very easy to remember. It's very easy to use in many situations. And so it's an easy choice.
Yes. Yeah. I'd like to share some of the alternatives.
Okay, good idea.
Yeah. First one is seriously. Mm-hmm. Incredibly.
Okay, incredibly. Extremely.
Totally. Absolutely.
And yes, we know people who use totally and absolutely a lot too.
Yeah. Well, which one do you think is the most useful word?
The most useful?
Yeah.
It depends on the context, what is being talked about. They're all good words, though, and I use them all. I use extremely, seriously, totally a lot. Yeah. Totally, I tend to overuse, actually.
Okay,
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
How about absolutely?
Yeah, and actually one of our Canadian friends says absolutely often. Mm-hmm. Like if you ask him a question and it's a yes, he'll say, oh, absolutely, almost every time. So it's commonly used by native speakers too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a good word.
All right, the next one I would like to talk about interesting.
Okay.
The alternatives for this word are breathtaking.
Okay.
Exciting.
Okay.
What is
exhilarating? Exhilarating.
I never seen this word.
Really?
Captivating. Odd.
Yes. So odd is the odd man out here. It has kind of a negative nuance, whereas the other choices are all positive nuance words.
Okay.
So breathtaking is like, it's so wonderful. Your breathing stopped. And exciting, exhilarating, captivating. These are all very positive words. Odd means strange. But we do use interesting to mean strange. Right? If something is interesting, it means it's very strange or very exciting. It could go either way.
Okay. Cool.
Nice one.
All right. The key point about this section is just simply don't use the same word every single time.
Okay.
In the same situation.
Mondai nai.
Okay, I wanna mention a little bit about fillers.
Okay, fillers is very interesting.
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, I used a lot of these in a conversation.
I think we all do. You clearly heard me say at the top of the episode several times.
But according to the research from the Harvard Business Review, which is the website, is saying filler words are bad for your speech.
Okay, what's the logic? What's the reasoning?
What's the reason?
Yeah, why does it sound bad, or why is it bad for your speech?
I think using too many fillers can bore your audience and then make your speech unclear. That's what it means.
Okay.
And especially this is probably a business website. So,
Okay, so in a business setting,
yes.
you might not want to say too much, right? Okay.
Right.
I think for casual conversation, it's fine, though.
So you means we can use those fillers often?
In daily conversation, maybe not when you're giving a speech or when you're in a business meeting. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay. There's 3 key points that this article says. The one is already I mentioned, and second one, pauses are better than fillers.
Really?
What do you think about this? I personally think this is correct.
Really?
From my standpoint.
Okay, why?
What I mean by that is, as a podcaster, it's hard to edit when you use too much fillers in a single sentence.
Oh, I see. But a pause
is
easier to edit.
Yes.
That's from a podcaster's point of view. Most people don't get to edit their daily conversation.
Right. I know.
I think one of the purposes of pauses is to show the other person, show the listener, I heard what you said, I'm thinking about it. Mm-hmm. If you just pause and you don't say anything for a few seconds, sometimes the person thinks, oh, they didn't hear me. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, they didn't understand what I said. I should say it again. Mm-hmm. So I think in that way, pauses are not as good as like or some word or some sound shows the listener that you did hear and you're thinking about it. You're making your answer in your head, right?
Okay.
Too much is not good.
Yeah, I was going to say that as an example. In between the word and word, like, can I fill with on, sounds?
Not between words so much.
Yes.
But just like I did now at the beginning, before I answer the question.
Yes. So this article giving us some answers how to avoid fillers.
Okay.
And overused fillers.
Okay. What was their advice? Like, what do you do?
Recording yourself.
Okay.
And practice replacing fillers and prepare well for your talks.
Okay. Like mentally prepare.
Yes.
Think about what you want to say.
Yes.
Okay. Being aware is actually really difficult, and I think recording yourself is a good idea. Because even as a native speaker, I don't always know exactly every single thing that I'm saying.
Right.
So recording gives you evidence, gives you a tool to work with.
Yes.
Maybe I should do that. We do it every week, actually.
Yeah, I check myself every week.
Yeah, I don't think about it often, but actually I was listening to last week's podcast, and I noticed I laughed a lot in the podcast. I was thinking, wow, why did I laugh so much there? It wasn't that funny. No. I kind of giggled a lot, and so I don't know why I did that.
I don't know.
Maybe I was feeling nervous or trying to lighten the mood, feel, like a happier mood.
Maybe.
But like I wouldn't have noticed that otherwise, because
yes.
I don't really pay attention that I'm laughing too much or that I'm using fillers too much. So
right. So we talked about how to avoid the fillers and how to avoid overused word today.
Yeah, just not get into the habit of using the same phrase every time.
Yes. In a nutshell, overused word is not bad thing.
No.
But maybe formal situation, you might want to use different words.
Yeah, it's always good to have backup just in case. Definitely. And to, expand your vocabulary. Yes. Expand your knowledge of different phrases. Use different words, different phrases as much as you can.
Right. And my personal advice here, I think you have to listen different kind of a music, TV shows sometimes.
You mean different than what you're used to?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Why?
Because you get used to those kind of words that you familiar with.
Oh, I see.
So you might fall into using same kind of a word.
Okay.
But if you talk to somebody you don't talk often, or you watch something else, you get new vocabulary, new words, new saying,
know. Okay, so you're just telling us that we should mix it up a little bit.
Yes.
All right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, that's good advice.
Okay, do you have any other advice for English learners?
No, because I don't want to bog everyone down too much. I think learning a new language, learning a second language or a third or fourth language is a lot of work. So just as we mentioned, just be aware of what you're doing, but don't stress too much. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, totally.
That's
okay.
right.
That's all for this episode, but don't forget to catch our next one.
This is CrossTalk signing off, bringing you English your way every week.
Keep listening and keep shining.
Bye.
Bye.